Hi, this is Jay, the singer from 57 Down, and also a guitar player. I decided, since I've got a bit of time and I kind of watched a few other people's videos doing this, that I was going to do a sort of my favourite riffs kind of thing, starting from the things I learned right when I first started playing guitar, right up to things that are influencing me now. So when I very first started, I was massively into Dire Straits, and I still am. But I wasn't about to sully Mark Knopfler's playing with my ham-fisted attempt. So,
how dare you?
Again, full disclosure, I have never learned a Dire Straits song because I didn't want to make a mess of it. So I'm sorry, even though he's my favourite guitar player, I don't know any Dire Straits songs. I prefer listening to them than playing to them.
Chicken ass, chicken shit.
So very first things I started learning on guitar when I was about 15, I had a friend Nathan who had a pretty hefty Iron Maiden collection at the time, and I started learning things along the lines of stuff like that, and I also off that album I decided I had heard the so I knew I had to buy a wah pedal, and I remember 15 years old going to this guy's house who was local, was selling a few bits and bobs, and he got an old fuzz pedal that I bought, and he'd also got a Vox wah, and I said, oh, this is what I want to play with it. And I always remember, because he thought I was young and didn't know very much, that he would be like, no, what you need to do when you're playing a wah pedal is be expressive. And I was going, precocious 15-year-old me was going, no, what I want to do. Facial expressions as well. So we agreed to disagree. I took the wah pedal home, and then I started, literally I think that was probably the only, Prowler is it? I think it was the only one that I ever really learnt on the wah, and I kind of put it in the cupboard and left it there for about 2 or 3 years until I discovered Metallica and Kirk Hammett. And let's be honest, you can't play Kirk Hammett unless you have a wah pedal.
Do I need to call you a wambulance? Wah, 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 wah.
After that, I remember going into the music shop in Grantham. It was a vinyl shop, and I remember going in there and saying to the guy, he would play anything you asked for, and I said, look, I'm after something with lots of guitar on it. And he said, well, you want Van Halen 1 then, mate? And I said, well, I don't know. He said, and so he put on Eruption, and I was like, yeah, okay, you're absolutely right. I want Van Halen 1. But when I got it home and started listening to it, I wasn't as struck with Eruption as I was with some of the riffs on there, like so after that, I must be honest, I didn't really buy any more Van Halen albums because a friend of mine at college at the time had introduced me to Passion and Warfare. And Passion and Warfare changed my mind completely. It just blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it. So I started trying to learn stuff like that. So yeah, when I started listening to Steve Vai, I wasn't obviously as a precocious little, I would be 16, 17 years old at the time. I wasn't about to start learning the solo from For the Love of God, but some of the riffs at the time, things like stuff like that I really liked, and it was the effects and things that Steve Vai used to do with the with delays and harmonizers and the whammy pedal and stuff like that I'd never really heard before. So that was a complete and utter change of direction for me after that, and I couldn't do anything, I couldn't hear anything but Steve Vai after that. I'm still not Steve Vai, and I'm never ever going to be Steve Vai, but
You're goddamn right.
there's just something about his playing that's always, no matter who else has come along since, the latest guitar heroes, the latest young guys coming along, there's something about Steve Vai's playing that has always stuck with me. I think he's the best ever. Best is subjective, and this is my point of view, but to me Steve Vai is the greatest guitarist that's ever lived, and I will fight anybody who says different.
I will beat your ass like a Cherokee drum.
So yeah, apart from Mr. Vai, I was very much into. I'd started getting into Metallica. I was getting into Metallica around the time of Injustice for All. So Master of Puppets was what, 86. That was a bit too early for me. I was probably just leaving school at the time. 88 was when Injustice for All came out, and I got a friend who was massively into Metallica, and he lent me a tape of Injustice for All, and of all the bands, the big four thrash bands, Metallica again were the ones that resonated with the most. You know, I don't know whether they were more accessible than, say, Slayer, or more musical, but you know, things like let's say you know, the slow, groovy, pounding, relentless riffs like that, and then things like, you know, the stuff that really should be played all right hand, but I can't do that. So. But yeah, Hetfield's rhythm playing was just a different level, and then obviously when the Black Album came out, everybody else jumped on board with Metallica as well. But to me, I think their finest riffs were on And Justice for All, and the sound was pretty garbage. I think everybody who knows Metallica will know the story behind And Justice for All, but when you listen to Metallica's songs off And Justice for All when they're played live, they're just, for me, a cut above anything else they've done up to that point, and even a lot of the stuff they've done since, including the Black Album, they've never written riffs as tight and as hard and as fast as they did on And Justice for All. Around the time I was into Metallica, that sort of era of the big four thrash bands at the time, I was into Anthrax as well. And it was really weird, looking back on it, I think I was more into Scott Ian than I was into Anthrax. So when people have asked me, who are the best, what order are the best the top four thrash bands, it was Metallica, Megadeth, Slayer, Scott Ian. Because as I've got older, I've realised I'm not a massive fan of the band so much as I am Scott Ian's rhythm playing. He's like Hetfield, he was a pure rhythm player, and his tone and his chugga chugga. You have things like, I know it's not one of their songs, but to me is an absolute corker of a riff. You know, it's just an absolute blinder. And at the same time, whilst we're in the subject of the Big Four, I was into Megadeth more as they went on. I liked them at the beginning, but when they got Marty Friedman playing guitar for them, you know, the Rust in Peace, Countdown to Extinction albums, things like the stuff like that, you know. Again, Dave Mustaine, absolute blinding rhythm guitar player, you know, and Marty Friedman, you know, he's just well, I'm not even going to attempt to try and do any Marty Friedman because again, I'll just make a massive fudge of the whole thing. After that, there was a song called More Than Words was doing the rounds, and I'd listened to that and thought, it's just another one of these glam bands with their token rock ballad. And then just after that, I was round a friend's house, and on whatever music video channel was on at the time was the came. And Nuno Bettencourt had arrived in my life, and I think I saw in a magazine or something like there was something about young guns of the time. Nuno Bettencourt was one of them, Vito Bratta, Red Beach, people like that. And whereas they all sort of were like the young glam band shredders, and they all subsequently fell by the wayside, Nuno Bettencourt has stayed on course and has always, to me, has always been as relevant now as he was then. And I think, you know, one of the greatest guitarists of his generation. You know, he's a big influenced big by Queen and Edward Van Halen, and it shows in his playing because his rhythm playing, although he's an absolutely tremendous lead guitar player, his rhythm playing, you know, from simple things like Warheads and I don't know, things like Decadence Dance. I mean, who puts that underneath a vocal line? And I didn't realise that about Van Halen's playing until I heard Nuno, heard him mention it, then went back to Van Halen, was like, well, of course, yeah. You know, he's the only guitarist in the band, and he didn't want to just chords underneath it, he wanted to keep it interesting. So, and every album that came out, you know, the very first Extreme One, then Pornography, and then Three Sides to Every Story. I think, from my point of view, Three Sides to Every Story is an absolute masterpiece. The songwriting, the playing, Nuno Bettencourt's playing on there is absolutely unbelievable, and very peculiar. You know, it came up with, so I'm not sure if I can even remember it. Things like the all of that going on underneath a vocal line, you know, whereas most guitarists, even in rock bands, would be content with maybe a few chords, power chord changes, a few little, you know, triads or something like that. He decides, I'm going to stick all of that underneath a vocal line, but it doesn't take away from the vocal line. It still sounds, it suits the song, complements the song. And I've always loved, if you listen to any of the stuff from the first 2 albums or first 3 albums, the things he'll be doing, you know, a complex rhythm, and then underneath it will just, for no reason whatsoever, stick a monster scale in and come out at the top of the scale, still in rhythm, still in perfect syncopation with the rest of the band. And you just think, I look at that and think, my God, I would have to have all of my effort and concentration just to be able to play that run that you just did, and you stuck it in between 2 other rhythm passages as just something to fill 8 bars or 4 bars. And it's, you know, I can't say enough good things about Nuno's playing. You know, anything Nuno plays is good with me. Another band, the band I've seen probably most in my life is a British band called The Almighty. I think I've probably seen The Almighty maybe 6 or 7 times, and as a consequence, I've seen the Wild Arts about 5 times, because they always seem to be supporting The Almighty. But they always had great riffs as well. When I was listening out for new stuff, Ricky Warwick always came up with some great riffs. That was pretty much when I first discovered Drop D. I remember going back to Extreme, I used to have a tab book for Pornography, and the intro to, which one was it, Little Jack Horny? It was always, it said that it was played in open tuning, like a normal tuning, but tuned down a full step, but it was played with tap harmonics. So, and I could never do it. It was just such a weird way of doing it. And it wasn't until I started messing about with drop D tuning and somebody explained how it worked, obviously very young, suddenly I realised that it was quite easy when you... So much easier.
Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
So yeah, don't always believe tab books. I can't remember the name of the guy on YouTube. He's doing a series on the very worst tab books in the world, and I think And Justice for All is one of the very worst. Luckily for me, I didn't learn anything off the tab book for that, just the extreme ones. But yeah, they were pretty bad. Yeah, I've been fortunate to be in a couple of really, really good bands over the years, both as a guitar player and a guitar player singer. I always end up doing both of those things in bands. I don't know why. It'd be nice to, turn up to a gig and not have to worry about my throat being in order, just like whether my guitar's in tune. That'd be nice. But yeah, one of the bands we were in, me and Matt, was a band called Rexet, and had some really great songs in there with some really good riffs. There's always one that I loved called Exit Wound. It has some great chords, a great drive to it, and it kind of started off like a... And there was another one by the rec set called
Lunatic SpongeBob.
do you know what, for the life of me now I'm on the spot, I can't think what it was called.
Fucking lunatic.
But it had a really nice intro, clean intro, kind of like and then when also in that band, there used to be a real fast punk song called Shadow, and I always remember my friend James Turton played it originally on guitar, and it was really fast, really percussive, and I managed to get it in about 1.5 seconds slower, faster than he did it.
I'm fast as fuck, boy. Still fast as fuck, boy. Come get some. I don't think you have any idea how fast I really am.
But I could never play it as percussively as he played it. It was just originally played through a Strat for a JCM 800, and it just sounded tremendous, and I can only do like a poor imitation of James's version of it, but it's really fast and percussive, like so yeah, I could never quite hit it as hard as James ever could. Apart from that, we used to have another song, and now I can't remember it for the life of me. I would have to have a minute and think of it now. Yeah, so this has a nice little clean intro that we used to do for a song, and all of these songs are like, you know, long dead songs now that just don't get played anymore, and I'd like to think at some point they could maybe be rescued and resurrected, because there are some really nice little bits in there, you know, like a so really, really lovely little intro, you know, and but I haven't really played guitar that often since the rec set finished. I've mainly been just singing in 57 down, and because of having kids and a small house, I just don't get to play guitar as much as I used to. So even shooting this video is basically 4 hours of playing guitar, which is a rare treat for me. So I'm just enjoying, you know, playing some old riffs and talking nonsense to you guys about guitar playing. So yeah, let's move on. We'll do a few more riffs. So over the years, I've played in a few bands that have done covers. Probably not even of songs that I would normally have gotten into, and I've gotten into the bands because of those songs. So things like. So, as well as being in bands with songs written by the other members of the band or previous members of the band, I did write quite a few riffs and songs for the bands that I've been in. The first one, a song called Stripe, starts off with a really nice, I like it, intro that goes like kind of. And goes into a really nice chord progression, sort of like a chorus come outro. Goes like a... Then there was another song, again ported over from a previous band called Still Drive, called Insert Subvert. Finally. Oh, for fuck's sake. Every fucking time. Let's try that again.